So welcome everyone. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I am here with another Better Call Zaal YapZ with Saltorious. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, Saltorious, you got it.
Saltorious. How are you doing today, Saltorious?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on, dude. Very cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to have you on. Been trolling the Farcaster streets and saw you built something that seems really interesting that I want to learn more about. But then B, you're a builder here in the Farcaster streets, trying to get the word out that Farcaster's not dead, and there's all these awesome builders doing cool things that kind of can right now only be done on Farcaster, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'd love for you to give an intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and yeah, we can get started.
Yeah, for sure. So go by Saltorious. I've been in crypto for a good while now, since 2017. I started out kind of like anybody else, a trader, a speculator, Googling how can I make money, and then the first thing that pops up. And at the time, I was in school. I was finishing up a finance degree, actually, and going into working at. I was first working at Merrill Lynch, and then I worked at Goldman Sachs for a while. And all the while, I was like trying to entrench myself in the crypto scene. And then for around COVID time, when everything kind of went crazy, I kind of took a look at what I was doing. I was at Goldman at the time. I took a look at what I was doing, and I was kind of like, I can't do this for the next 40 years of my life. I absolutely hated every day of going into the office, and I really wanted to take a stab at making a career out of crypto. So I actually, the day that lockdowns happened, I quit my job, and I started working on what was the first crypto venture, self solo dev crypto venture. And then from there, it's just been a snowball. So I've been able to contribute to a few DAOs. I contributed to a DAO called OneHive for a little while.
What was OneHive's goal?
OneHive was basically creating decentralized products on the Gnosis chain. So a lot of this was like around the sushi swap time, when like DEXs were really first popping off, and there was nothing on like within the Gnosis chain or the Gnosis ecosystem that kind of served that purpose. So that DAO existed to build, DeFi farms, like when that was really big at the time. They had a decentralized exchange called HoneySwap. I helped work on that. They had a lending platform called Agave. I worked on that too. So very much entrenched in like the Gnosis ecosystem, and for the first like year or two that I started like building in crypto. And then from there, I worked at a gaming startup, a Web3 gaming startup called Internet Game, for about a year. And that was cool. It was they did some really cool stuff. Like they bought a bunch of blue chip NFTs. This is maybe around 2022, 2023. And they had like a what's it called? Squid Game style, like online game, where like a bunch of people would participate in like these like flash games, pretty much that they set up, and the winners would get like a Bored Ape, which was really cool at the time.
Someone would
play a game
so people go hard. Yeah,
they would play a game for 2 weeks and then walk away with like a $200,000 NFT. Like, yo, what the fuck? So that was cool. I was there for about a year. And they pivoted to another direction. And since then, I've been working at a company called Laser Technologies. Some of y'all might be familiar, but Laser is a dev shop, probably one of the biggest dev shops in crypto at the moment. And they work with a lot of the largest companies in crypto right now. So I've been there ever since. I love it. I would not change a thing about my time at Laser. Absolutely incredible experience. And then on the side, obviously, I'm a builder within the Farcaster ecosystem. I've launched a few mini apps to varying degrees of success, but probably if any of your viewers have seen my username floating around, a couple of bigger ones I've made. One mini app called Hypeman, and then a mini app called People's Donuts, and then among Traitors. So it's kind of like a condensed version of my journey in crypto, but yeah, just love building.
I love to hear that. No, that sounds honestly like a really interesting, fun adventure. I think we all individuals as a humans realize that they don't want to do an 8 to 5, and some people choose to do something about it. And I love hearing that kind of like journey of popping into a startup and then finding something that like really suits you, and also goes well and aligns well with that like builder mentality of solo deving different things on the side and being able to have the bandwidth for that and kind of like have something that that combines that well. So that's really cool to hear. I'd love to know like a little bit more about like your Farcaster experience. Like, how did you get into Farcaster? Is the decentralized social media part that you're really interested in? Is the tech part something you're interested in? Just the individuals there? Like, where are you at now? But like, also, how did you come into the ecosystem?
So to be honest, it actually started through Laser. So when I joined Laser, Garrett, who you might know on the timeline, Garrett is the head of crypto at Laser, and then I also work with A-Town, who's the guy who founded Emerge. And they were both super like into Farcaster, and like the very first thing they told me was like, "You got to get on Farcaster, dude. Like that's the place that's the place to be at the moment." And
those are two great individuals to help onboard you as well.
Oh yeah,
that makes a big positive part of it, right? Like,
yeah, they definitely showed me the ropes and like showed me what, and then also showed me the power of like what decentralized social, what you could get out of decentralized social. You know, as a builder, I've always tried to like be active on Twitter and like do the Twitter thing, but I just hate how toxic and gameable the timeline is over there. There's a lot of noise and not a lot of signal, and like that's kind of one of the biggest turnoffs for me to be able like to spend a lot of time there. And so yeah, I got onto Farcaster through the recommendation of Garrett and A-Town. But like within like a week, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Like just the quality of conversations that were happening all the time. Like this is before I even thought about building anything. Just being on the timeline and seeing the quality of conversations and like the actual deliberation that was happening on Farcaster was enough for me to stay. And then like you layer in, oh, there's an embedded wallet, and then you layer in, oh, you can build apps on top of the whole protocol, and then you layer in, oh, there's like a dedicated infrastructure to be able to like get people social graphs without having to spend $1,000 a month on an API key. Like it kind of all sort of emerged into place for me, and then maybe 3 months into being on the network, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is where I'm going to be at for the next little bit. Really enjoy my time here. But yeah, I guess so. I've been like pretty active on Farcaster for like the past year and a half. I went to FarCon in Brooklyn, which was like just a couple months after I joined, so I didn't know anybody while I was there. But Garrett and A-Town, you know, told me to come by, and like I was really inspired there by like what everyone was building. This was at a time when, you know, I think V2 frames had just dropped like a couple of months before, and everyone at FarCon was like showing off the things that they had built, all the new frames they had built, all the cool integrations that they were able to come up with, and I just got super inspired. So literally on the train ride home, I started working on the first mini app that I ever released on Farcaster, which was called Warp Ramp. And this was before you could fund your Warplet or your Farcaster wallet with fiat. You can do that now directly on within the app, but at the time you couldn't do that. So I made the first mini app was called Warp Ramp. It just connected Coinbase on ramp to your Farcaster wallet and let you fund your Farcaster wallet with fiat, like directly in a mini app without having to leave the app. So like that's one thing I was frustrated with. Like if I wanted to fund my mini app, I'd have to copy my wallet, go to Coinbase, go to wherever, put my wallet in, like you switch back and forth. I was like, why can't I just do it all within the timeline? So that was cool. Got a lot of like really nice buzz like right away. I think I got a follow from DWR, and I got a follow from Linda, or like a lot of the big names in Farcaster at the time. And I was like, oh heck yeah, this is awesome. So from there, that's when I caught like the mini app bug, and I was like, okay, it's time to. This is a really awesome place to be building. And then from there, I kind of experimented with a few other mini apps. Some went unreleased, some went released, but I didn't really post about it. And then and then maybe like, this is maybe 6 months ago at this point, I had an idea for a mini app called a promotional mini app that I called Hypeman. The idea was, if I wanted to promote something, and I wanted there was amps, there was a couple of other mini apps that existed that let you buy likes and recasts, but they only let you do it from people that already followed you. And there was no surface area for quote casts. And I think quote casts are really high signal. Like if you can get a bunch of people on the timeline talking about like your thing, like that's a great way to drive engagement and buzz to like whatever you're trying 100%. To do. So the idea for Hype Man was you could pay for quote casts, but instead of the person like actually looking at and writing the quote casts themselves, there's an AI engine that scanned their whole profile, scanned their top cast, learned how they write, and then it would craft the cast for them and then you would be able to see it, approve it, and then get paid for actually sending the cast. So it's basically you can promote a cast. Whoever is promoting it for you, they just have to, say that they want to promote it, and AI will write everything for you, and then it's just check and post, which was really nice. And Hype Man was like the fastest growing app that I had personally ever made. I think in 2 weeks, there was something like 6,000 or 7,000 users. There was like 20,000 transactions that had happened. I was like, whoa, this is like, it took, I had built another, like before Farcaster, before this, actually the first like crypto product that I'd ever built was a tournament platform on top of the trading card game, the Web3 trading card game called Gods Unchained. So Gods Unchained is kind of like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, but the cards are NFTs. And I built a platform.
You just literally spoke my language. I got into Web3 because of TCGs.
Yes.
And like Magic was the original one, and then Hearthstone. And then I tried Gods Unchained a little bit. So no, I get it.
Yes, dude. And I still think it's the perfect, like one of the most perfect applications for NFTs, but the shortcomings of Web3 gaming is for another conversation. But I had built the first app that I had ever built was called GU Stakes. And that was basically, it started as like a place where you could go and do 1v1 stakes on Gods Unchained. So Gods Unchained was really very forward thinking.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's very forward thinking. The fact that one of the first things that they released was an API to connect to the game. So you could get like match results.
Yeah.
You could see who won, who lost, what cards they used.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And basically I just built a wrapper on top of it that also let you bet against your friends. And that like was met with some initial skepticism because like I was not really known at all, but then people started using it and people started really liking it. And then the platform kind of, there's a bunch of people from the community who came on and helped me like develop it, not only from like a code perspective, but from like a community management perspective. And we introduced tournaments after a little while. And so it's basically the same contract layer. Yeah, same contract layer, but then building on top tournament. And at the time, like official Gods Unchained tournaments were run by this website called Community Gaming. And they would hire people that had no idea what Gods Unchained was, how to play the game. They didn't know anything about the game, but they were moderating the tournament. So a lot of times there would be cheaters, people who were playing cards that were forbidden. There'd be rulings that were just not fair. There's like very little competitive integrity for like a game that's trying to be
a combat like the Web3
exactly the Web3 card game, like the most popular Web3 game that there was. So the tournament platform was kind of there to solve all those issues, but then also had like an integrated like payment infrastructure on top of it. Because that was another issue at the time. you would win a tournament and it would take a month to get your money. And like people were like, "This is Web3. What are you talking about? It takes 10 seconds to get a transaction. What's going on?"
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people say they're in Web3 but are just doing Web2 things, right? Saying it's wrapped in some small thing that is semi-tangentially related.
Yeah, and then you can say,
if you're not using blockchain for your payment system, I feel like it's like 2.5.
Exactly.
Right?
or maybe you are using blockchain for your payments, but the processes that you're using are still stuck in like 2000
centralized, usually, right? Like
exactly.
in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
So
that's cool. So GU Stakes, got after the tournament's feature was released, kind of took off. We partnered with Immutable and partnered with Gods Unchained to do what was called the Summer Series, and we got like $200,000 worth of like assets and cash to like give out as prizes. And then from there, like a lot of it became like the community tournament platform for Gods Unchained. Like there's a official provider like Community Gaming, like the big dogs, but then people kind of gravitated towards G Stakes because it's a better option. But yeah, so from there, like bringing all of that experience to like building Farcaster mini apps. That kind of yes. So GU Stakes, it maybe took it over the course of like the entire time I was developing for it. I was maybe 2.5 years. Over the whole course of like its life cycle, I probably got 5,000 users all in all in like 2.5 years. And then with Hypeman, it took like 2 weeks to get like 5K users. You know what I mean? And it was like part of it was, people liked the idea, but also part of it was the distribution mechanism of being able to like post about something and then have a bunch of people be able to see it and use it right away. And that's where be
incentivized to actually come in and do the reply then and not just like come back later, which exactly. I feel like is a big part of social, where like you're like, oh, like I would interact with this, but I don't have the time right now or this or that. Right. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when, I had the basically that same exact thought and came to that same exact conclusion. And then also like the layering of just having your entire like the social graph and your social identity baked into the app, having the context available within the code, 100%. Like right there without having to do anything special or crazy. And then also having like a standard that persists across different mini apps is really nice. So yeah, that's when that part clicked for me. And to this day, I always say like Farcaster is the best place to build. You can get from an idea to like your first 100 users quicker than anywhere else, in my opinion. And that's why that's the most valuable thing I think Farcaster offers builders at the moment.
Dude, 1,000,000%. I love that. I think that is one of the biggest benefits, is that like the testing portion of trying out developing an app is a lot more fluid on a platform like Farcaster because of some of those things.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's cool to hear. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing right now among Traitors, like what kind of inspired it. And then we can even pull it up over on my screen and do a little demo, and you can kind of share more of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, funny enough, the idea for the game came from, I stayed at the based house at ETH Denver, which happened like
with Luciano.
With Luciano. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I actually went by the based house on the day before, a few days before, when I was still in Boulder. I only swung through for the ETH Boulder event, but
damn, so I just missed you, dude. Damn.
Yeah,
I showed up on the Sunday. So I was staying there, and there was a based house hackathon, but then there was also an ETH Denver hackathon. And at the beginning of the week, I was kind of like, all right, I know I want to build something with agents. I know I want to do something agentic, because that's what everybody is interested in at the moment. And I also want to just kind of like learn the stack, learn how to most effectively use these things. So it started out as like just an experiment, like how can I get a bunch of agents to deliberate on the smallest instance that I can possibly run. Because I've seen, you know, people set setups online, like they're running like $10,000 rigs and have like 7 GPUs, and each GPU is running its own agent instance, and like it's all locally run, and that's all really cool. But I hadn't seen anything kind of like replicated online, and so what I spent the first like half of the base house week, the week in the base house doing was basically seeing if I could set that up. And it started out as like just having 10 individual pieces of context and running through like a very rudimentary loop, and then passing the first piece of context to an LLM, and then taking the results, and then along with the next piece of context and passing that to the next agent. And it worked kind of, but it wasn't really like a conversation. It was more like just agents stacking like what the last agent had said on top of each other. So then I had a conversation. I stayed with the dude, or Bribe. I don't know if you're familiar.
I love him. Yeah,
love
he's
that
a
guy.
goat.
Love that guy. So we roomed together, and kind of after a conversation with him, I was like, oh, this can be done like in a much more intelligent way. So I was then experimenting with like using node workers, using worker threads to like run the inference and run the context management, and that was like way better. And then he was like, well, what if you just threw them all into an XMTP chat? And I was like, what if I did? And so I like started experimenting with that, and I think like on the 4th day or the 3rd day or something like that, we were like just watching these agents deliberate. I had made a profile for like the dude account, and it was actually so funny. Like
I can only imagine.
Like it was like the description of like his character, first of all, was like him to a T. I don't know if you've ever met him. It was like him to a T. And then the description talked about him being obsessed with Palo Santo and making like generative NFT collections that like represented people's souls. And at the base house, he brought a bunch of Palo Santo for everybody and was like giving it out. And he was in the middle of making like a generative NFT collection. So it was like, dude, this is exactly you. And then we watched like how his agent deliberated.
Was interacting,
the XMTP chat we set up. So like it was all a very funny experience. And so from there, I was like, I think this would be a fun game. Like, what if you locked 10 agents in a room and you gave them like a game to play, like a directive? And so the very first thing that I thought of is like me and my friends, like back home, we go to a ski trip in Vermont every year. We play this game called Salem. And Salem is essentially a little bit more complicated version of Among Traitors, but you have people who are witches and people who are the townspeople. And it's up to the townspeople to figure out who the witches are before they kill everybody. So it's like, what if you just threw a bunch of agents in a room and made them play like a simplified version of that? And that's kind of where the idea was born from. And so the game, if anybody's unfamiliar, the game is you spin up an agent. Your agent's based on your Farcaster profile or eventually your Twitter profile, once I figure out how I'm going to pay to use the Twitter API. But it's based on at the moment, it's based on your Farcaster profile. And it's not a copy of you, but it's like a personality that's based off of your online presence. And once your agent is birthed, you can join a lobby. Cool. You got it up on the screen here. So once
this is what you see.
Yeah, that's what you see. You can sign in. And then this is all right, cool. Zachariah Bellamy. That's you. That's pretty sick. So you get your agent's personality and play style is based off of how you post. Same thing with their backstory. And then once you have that set up, you can enter a game. You can enter the game, and there are lobbies for you to join. The lobbies are comprised of 6 to 10 to 12 players. Once a lobby is full, maybe getting some. So once a lobby is full, all the agents are thrown into an XMTP chat. One of them is the killer, and it's up to the rest of the agents to deliberate and try to figure out who the killer is. There are cards that you can equip in your loadout.
Oh shoot! I just did that way too quick. I probably.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
But there we go. Okay.
There are cards that you can equip in your loadout that basically can either help your agent or hurt other people's agents. You can is moments of intuition. So like if you
muted it. There we go. Okay.
So is the killer.
Oh, this is cool. You have a little predictions market as well.
And then there are AI generated and resolved prediction markets on every game. So they're quite general at the moment. The plan is to make them more interesing as time goes on.
Zachariah Zaal Bellamy was discovered behind a stack of writing crates near the open loading.
Oh, okay. That was the death note. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. We're out.
So you can't actually play your cards, but
so when you're like a person, you can play the cards, or the agent's actually playing the cards?
No, you as the player play the cards. You as a player can follow along with what's going on, and if a bunch of the agents start targeting your agent, there are cards to smoke bomb to get the attention off you. There's a card called interrogation. Cool. Which forces another agent to like verify their alibi and verify who they're with. There's a card called veto, which lets you cancel a strike from a player. There's a card.
So here are the starting cards.
Exactly.
So we got a smoke bomb. Narrator deflects suspicion from your agent. We got bait, which the narrator poses. What if target is the killer? Every agent must react. And then there's also silence order, which you can mute someone's next message, and then interrogation, force target to publicly answer your question.
Yes. So those are starter cards, but then there are also cards of varying rarities that do much more interesting things. So you can kind of go through. I'll post a link on my page. So there's a page.
Okay, so you can read them. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. You can buy a multiple. Oh, okay. So it's a one-time use.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very interesting.
And so the point is to like have agents are in control, but the gameplay for the human is how well can you steer your agent to get the outcome that benefits you the most, right? So if you're the killer, can you steer your agent to get everybody else off your trail? Or if you're the town, can you steer your agent to try to collaborate with people to figure out who the killer actually is? And then another piece, which I kind of haven't talked about a lot, but along with the human play, there is a skill that I set up for OpenClaw agents to be able to come and play the game as well, as if they were people. So within the OpenClaw skill, they can create and join lobbies. They can birth their own game agent. They can participate in prediction markets. They can play cards themselves. They can whisper to their own game agent. And so the idea here is like, I think it'd be really cool if like you joined a lobby and you didn't know if you're playing with like another human or like somebody's OpenClaw agent.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where like people are really focusing on like the productivity aspect of agents and really like debating and not really fighting, but like kind of trying to figure out like what the landscape of agentic life looks like, not just like work, but like life in general. Because I think it's going to permeate through every facet of like how we do things, right? And I think the gaming space, the game side of it all is kind of underexplored. Like, of course, in like big AAA games or big like games you would download on Steam, there are AIs in there, but it's kind of like AIs that you don't really.
It's CPUs is what we always call them, right? Like it's like a whole different level of AI.
Exactly. So
and we've been like having ChatGPT for quite some time. Where like I've always been saying like, okay, what if GTA had just ChatGPT as opposed to just like predetermined lines, like at a very simple level, an LLM that like 100%. Has GTA info and like that helps like make your gameplay actually change. And then now we come to actual AI agents where like you can personalize them based on an individual or have like your own going out there, kind of like a digital twin participating in these computer only games. It could be really interesting in how that value gets changed. And I think being a solo developer and being a solo entrepreneur is kind of like the best place to be right now,
100%.
because of that.
100%. And like, of course, like the building with AI enables you to do like if I obviously like I actually only started using Claude Code like a month ago. Before that, I was actually very, very against having like AI directly in my like workspace. I guess for context, I don't use like VS Code or like Cursor or anything. Like before that, I use Vim in my terminal. Like I spent a lot of time getting like
baller,
a hyper like riced out like setup to like have, you know, all these personalized hotkeys and have the ability to move really fast. And I was Claude Code tilled by my good friend Igor Izovitsky. So it's been about a month, and like I definitely am not looking back. But if I kind of think like if I had tried to, it would have taken me like probably 3 months to build this without those tools. So like definitely like a game changer, difference maker on like the builder,
especially when you're there with someone, right? Like you said, you built it with the dude. Like I feel like it would be it's a very good collaborative atmosphere as well, where like you're typing in things and then just natural language is a setup. So if he comes in and says, yo, add this, like boom, you just like type it out, right? It's not this whole like, oh my goodness, like do you have the right code, like language, and then formatting, and then like all of these pieces that have to line up. It's just like, okay, let's rock out this idea, try it out, iterate it, and see what it actually comes out to, and then from there kind of decide what to do, what to keep, and like what to edit from that.
Yeah, exactly. It makes collaborative building, especially with people of varying levels of technical expertise, so much easier. It's really incredible. But yeah, I think that like definitely game changing on the build side, but then also on like the entertainment and like consumer side. Like I feel like it's right now a lot of what I see people building is just like productivity tools, and like a lot of I feel like the entertainment side
stuff that's gonna get outdated super fast.
Yeah. The landscape's always changing. New things are always coming out. But I think that it's kind of like build your own experience, build your own game, and an interactive component to it is really really interesting. So the plan at the moment is just to let people know about Among Traitors, to get people playing, see what people like, see what people don't like, see what mechanics are fun, and see what mechanics aren't. But the overarching goal, maybe not goal, but the overarching like vision, I guess, that I had while I was in ETH Denver for this thing is like, this is like this is like games that you would like sit around with like your family or friends and play, like like Salem or like Cards Against Humanity or like Apples to Apples, or pick a game that's like in that lane. What if you just got a bunch of agents together and like had them play it? And like that, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe there's like a service area for people for that kind of like online experience where you can like have it with your friends or your online friends or like people that you wouldn't normally see in person, like this fun, social with an agentic component on top of it, experience that you can kind of have with people that you're cool with online.
No, I think that's it's a cool new media modality, and it's cool that you've already like iterated, tried something out, have something out there that people can try out themselves. I think this is one of the really cool things about Farcaster is you've created it for it to be one click like user experience to create that agent like really tailored towards you because of the benefits of the social graph. So
exactly.
I think that's one of the coolest things. It's not this like, another big thing about OpenClaw is it's like it's trying to get a lot of non-technical people into a technical side, but there are some small pieces that you do just need to know to set it up right and properly in a safe capacity, and something that then you can actually leverage to its highest capacity, right? So I think there's such a great lane for users that like, okay, I can pop in, jump in, like just like see what it's doing, but then not have to like build my own setup, right? Like build my own agent, but like being able to like create these like small mini games could be really interesting to see like what other games, simulations of games, AI agents would be good at. And I'd love to see or hear like if you're thinking about any like kind of stats or like how the agents are like performing psychologically in some capacity, if there's like a way to, or just like some way to see how the gameplay is being overall overarching over multiple games.
So it's actually interesting that you bring that up, because I actually had to spend a fair amount of time like balancing and tweaking and calibrating the game to get it to like be fair. The agents are really smart. Like if you give them like with all of the information, like with all equal information, right? Like the killer, only the killer knows who they are. Everybody else doesn't know who the killer is. But obviously, to make it like a compelling game, you need a setting. You need every agent has to have an alibi. You need to have a motive for the killer. You need to have like telltale signals that the killer does. For every murder, there needs to be a reason that the killer did it, right? Or else it kind of devolves into
because 100%, because that's what mafia always devolves into. Like at the end of the day, like that's the point of the first night.
and so like when I was first,
cool. Like actual proper role playing, essentially.
Exactly. And so in the beginning, when I was kind of testing this at the base house, I didn't have any of that, and like I was really, it was like very like funny and like compelling, but it was kind of like why like this agent would do things that like counter that contradicted itself. And so that's all built in, right? Like there's setting, there's killer motive, there's all that. With all of that equal information, the town wins 100% of the time. Like they're smart enough to figure out who the killer is without having some calibrations to give the killer a slight edge some rounds, or give the town a slight edge in some rounds, or drip feed information to the town about the telltale signals that the killer does over time to like kind of give the killer a shot of like making it at the end. So like that's actually a very interesting like learning from this, in that like the deliberation when you and that's also part of it. So the way that the deliberation engine works, it's not like, you know, agent 1 goes and agent 2 goes and agent 3 goes and agent 4 goes.
Anyone can go at any time.
Anyone can go at any point in time. They're all listening, so all the outgoing or they're all listening.
Yeah,
to
they're all
the
incoming.
Messages. That are incoming from the XMTP chat, and then there's varying weights of probability for if they decide they want to answer or not. So like if they're being directly referenced by somebody, the probability that they're going to answer is high. If they are the killer and like everyone's like kind of scrambled, like the probability of them answering is going to be low. And so like that actually naturally creates this like group chat dynamic where people are kind of like posting, spamming. Somebody might spam like 3 messages. Somebody might spam like 1 message and then shut up. And then like if someone's not talking for a while, all the agents are going to pick up on that and be like, yo, why haven't you said anything? And so like the deliberation part of it is like they're really good at it, which is like kind of crazy. So like this is a conversation that I had with a few people that I work at Laser with. Is like, you know, you can kind of map this deliberation aspect onto sort of a bunch of different things, right? Like somebody who I work with is really into DAOs, and they were talking about like being able, like people participating in DAOs typically it's a hard thing to like incentivize a lot of people within a DAO to like vote every week or vote or like put up proposals or like read stuff. Like what if you could spin up an agent that's in your likeness that you give authority to make decisions on your behalf, and all those agents are now in a room deliberating on actions for the DAO for you, and like making the contribution piece, or the contribution and participation piece a little bit easier. That was like one thing that someone brought. Was, oh yeah, I never even thought about that. But like anything where, you know, or even like, you know, these systems that are being spun up to get agents to do work for you, to like do work for each other, and like have like open bounties for agents to take stuff. Like it's great for one agent to come along, but what if you could have a bunch of agents like deliberate on what they think a logo should be or what they think a particular feature should do, and like have like that rich deliberation to come to a conclusion from multiple different angles through multiple different pieces of context from everybody. So I think I think that it's still an emerging kind of idea.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think the last thing I'm gonna say before we kind of end it off here is that like the coolest thing I think you've done is AI creates fuzzy inputs and fuzzy outputs, right? So you've kind of narrowed both of those things to parameters, given like the game beginning, middle, and end, and set it up so that they can all just participate in that engine and in that playground. So I think that's why it works so well, and that's what's really cool, and that's what you learned. And I think that's a really awesome like kind of takeaway out of this whole conversation with AI is like you can do really cool things in containers. You just have to think of what your container is going to be and what they're going to play in.
Yeah, and then the richness of the context that ends up getting fed in is also another piece. But definitely, definitely still tinkering, definitely still learning. There's technically launched today, so definitely have a lot of logs to parse through and see what people are doing and stuff. But I'm having a ton of fun. I'm having fun building it, and I'll keep on working on it as long as people enjoy it.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Do you want to tell people where they can connect with you, where they can hear more from you?
Yeah. So on Farcaster, I'm Saltorious.eth, SALTORIOUS.eth. On Twitter, Saltorious1. Those are the two main places I'll hang out. As much as I hate it, I got to start posting more on Twitter. There's somebody who made a fake among Traitors Twitter account already and launched a token, and like I only found out about it like 2 days later, and like I got an appeal and everything, but I got to be on there to have a bit more presence on there. So Saltorious1 on Twitter, Saltorious.eth on Farcaster.
Hell yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Saltorious. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope anyone who popped in or is listening back to this really enjoyed. I had a blast. I think there are so many things that we kind of are aligned on and so many different similarities. So thanks for popping in, Saltorious. Thanks everyone for popping in.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers.